still 1963, playing with little turtles that we had bought them. Drake's oil well in Titusville, Pennsylvania. Storybook Forest outside of Ligonier, Pennsylvania. I think this is 1963, but I'm not too sure. This is Carter jumping off a pole in Allentown, and it is 1964. So the previous picture at Storybook Forest must be 1964 also. Tracy in Allentown in 1964. We left the kids in Allentown that year and went up to New York City, and off in the distance you can see the Statue of Liberty. That always impresses me, that statue. I always imagine what our immigrants must have thought when that's the first thing they saw. That must have been a terrific feeling that they had coming into our country. We took the boat around Manhattan Island, and here's the picture of the UN building. Anybody who goes to New York should take the boat trip around the island. The Brooklyn Bridge. That was an engineering marvel in its day. That fall, we left the kids with my mother and father, and Gloria and I went up to Toronto and spent a couple days. This is Castle Loma in north part of Toronto. Really interesting architecture and expenses in making it. all these stones that you see around this wall were imported from Scotland or Italy, and the masonaries were hired from, let's say, Scotland to install this wall. I think the wall cost over $1 million in its day to put up. I could be a little bit wrong, but it's a very expensive wall. This is the stable of Castle Loma Castle. This is the gardens in Hamilton, Canada. Rainbow Bridge, Niagara Falls, 1964. I suspect we're on the Maid of the Mist, going up to the Horseshoe Falls. Okay, it's now 1964, December 15th, and Carter's birthday is now 6 years old. And again, Gloria made the cake. Carter's birthday party at Almanel Drive. Sure, an army of kids. This is Carter's new bike that he got for his 6th birthday. As you can see, it was taken inside the garage because December is a cold month outside in Pittsburgh. Christmas 1964. Trees staying the same, but the gifts are getting larger and more of them. This is Christmas 1964, and you notice Carter's holding our Irish Terrier, Taw. She's 8 months old in this picture. Taw was the abbreviation of Tracy's name, since the dog was a girl. Tracy Ann Utzig, T-A-U. I guess I was wrong. Taw was only 2 months old, and here's another picture of Taw and Carter and Tracy. Notice that Carter is sitting in Gloria's old chair that Gloria had when she was a little girl. I believe this is Christmas of 65 or 64. I'm not too sure now. I'm dealing with slides that have no date on them at all. I believe this is the same Christmas, and I guess we went over to Mimi and Pap's house on their house near St. Clair Country Club. I have no idea what these pictures are saying. I do notice now the bookcases, instead of being brown, we repainted it white, which was a lot better. This has got to be Tracy's birthday, I'm guessing in 1965. This has to be Christmas, I'm guessing, at Mimi and Pap's house in 1964. I can recognize by the chandeliers that was their type chandeliers rather than ours, I think. Next series of slides is the World's Fair in New York City. I believe it was in 1965. Of all the 3 fairs that Gloria and I have attended, New York, Montreal, and Knoxville, this to me was the best one that we have ever seen. I forget the name of this bridge. I think it's Vero's something or other, Narrows Bridge. It outsurpasses the span of the Golden Gate Bridge, but it's still not as emotional as the Golden Gate Bridge to me. There are a lot of World's Fair pictures. I'm only going to show you the highlight ones. And as I say, I really think this is the finest World's Fair that we've ever attended. This was one of the center points of the World's Fair, this globe made out of angle iron and I-beams. It was probably 200 feet in diameter, or even greater, and it was the central point of the whole fair. A lot of countries came in and sponsored certain villages, and this is just one of the villages of a certain country. You talk about a tire, that's probably the biggest tire ever made in the world right there. This was a stained glass wall. And the interesting thing about it is that Roy Callaghan, if I remember correctly, helped design this wall, which is globs of big glass filled in with epoxy resin. I believe it's still standing. When the World's Fair closed down, they kept about 4 or 5 different items for memorabilia's sake. Cars of the future. We're slowly getting there. You have to remember all the pictures you've seen are probably taken with film speed of maybe 64, and all the indoor pictures that were with flash were taken with flash bulbs. So you really had to carry a pile full of You also have to remember, this World's Fair, we weren't very cost conscious. So the countries really went out and did their thing beautifully. I believe the fair was in Yonkers, but I'm not too sure. This is that wall that I was telling you about that was made out of epoxy and chunks of glass. This is the inside surface. This was a walkthrough of a gasoline engine made like three-dimensional cartoon things. Like these, you're looking at the pistons. This was a display of General Electric. It was the future home. But what made it interesting, these were all mechanical people, and they were made by Walt Disney. What made it interesting is the fact this is the first time that robots, mechanical robots, were used. Today, it's not unusual, but way back when, it sure was. Here's the focal point of the World's Fair. looking at gold here. You can see way back in the background that Australian or Bavarian or German village that you every now and then see scenes about. This is Tracy's birthday. I don't know if it's March of '64 or March of 1965. I have a feeling it's 65, but I'm not too sure. As usual, Gloria made the cake. This was taken in our playroom in Upper St. Clair in the basement. As you see, the little horse that goes round and round and round. And you can see I built shelves to put all the toys on, and the kids also had big boxes to dump all their toys in. Now we're going to move to slides. I have a few of them. This was dated 1972, and you can see it's Carter in his Boy Scout pack. This is dated 1976. It has to be homecoming at Solon football games, and that's all I can tell you. (1978), tulips growing in our front of our house in Solon. The rear of Solon High School. It just finished an all-weather track. The date on this slide is June 1978, and I would suspect Dry is only 1 or 2 months old in this picture. She was a real nifty pup. And she's a real great dog. Some of these slides we were taking for Tracy to get ready to go to Austria. So these were all taken in the early part of 1978, and this was, as you can see, is downtown Cleveland. The eagle that was over our garage up in Solon, which is also over our garage down here in Akron. Can you find the flaw in the picture? Picture taken with Carter, Gloria, and I in our living room in Solon. Inside Randall Mall near Solon, Ohio. Entrance to Carriage Park in Solon, Ohio. Looking at our house down the street of the houses in Carriage Park. Here's Dad and Tracy walking down from homecoming. And Tracy was part of the court, I guess it was. Here's Tracy cheerleading. This was taken with high-speed film at the time and had to be reprocessed even faster. I think the film speed was 1,000 at that time. Souped up to 1,000. Picture of Terminal Tower in downtown Cleveland taken from the interstate, I believe it was 71. I swear this is Solon and Kmart on the left, but I just can't picture this somewhere. Skyline of Cleveland, 1978. I have no idea why I took this picture, but it was taken. At the time, this used to be Republic steel, but now it's LTV steel. Randall Mall again. Stouffer's Foods in Solon, 1978. These pictures were taken in June or late May 1977, Carter graduating from high school. I had to use that extra high-speed film, and the only thing that was available was slide film. So, and I suspect the film speed pushed was at 1,000. It's interesting to note, in 1990 you can buy standard film that's at 3,200 now. This is a picture of Brian Leslie, our Scottish AFS student. Last year, in 1989, he came and visited us with his new wife. This was one of the teachers. Carter can probably tell you better his name than I can. There's Brian getting ready for graduation. I'm pretty sure it's before graduation, but it might be after, but I'm pretty sure it's before graduation. Solon Auditorium. I believe that's Carter getting his diploma. Some of the graduating class. I think that's Carter, but I can't tell from viewing through the video cam. It's either Carter or O'Brien. It looks to me a little more like Carter, though. In fact, I think it is because I see Brian sitting down, I believe. Carter. I think that's Brian to the right of the principal. I mean, to the left of the principal. I guess the girls had light gowns and the guys had dark blue gowns or black gowns. And the next series of pictures are the slides that Tracy took to Austria. I said, Tracy, why don't you take slides so when you get over there you can borrow a projector and show it what the place looks like on a wall. Well, that sounded good, but when she got to Austria, she couldn't find anybody over there that had a slide projector. So it was very difficult to show her parents over in Austria by what she lived and where she lived by just holding the slides up to a light bulb. But this is our house in Solon, Ohio. Downtown Cleveland, Ohio. Solon High School. Don't remember that these were all taken around April and May of 1978. Tracy had 3 jobs. She started out at Geauga Lake, and at the same time she got involved with Baskin Robbins, and then at the same time she went to Koenig Sportswear. 3 jobs at once was just too much for anybody, so Baskin Robbins went by the wayside, then Geauga Lake, and there she worked at Koenig's Sportswear for probably a year and a half. We're down at the flats, where it is really developing and becoming quite a place to eat and drink and party now. You can see the drawbridge drawn up. This is a little frontier house down in the flats. Cleveland, and you can see the grain elevator off to the right. Cleveland Airport, known as Hopkins Airport. Lake Erie. Inside the arcade, this is an historic building. It is really a neat building with all the glass roof. The SS Cod, stationed down in Cleveland on the Cleveland waterfront. Randall Mall from the outside. The arcade from the inside. A department store downtown Cleveland. This is the west side of Cleveland. I think they call it Old Town or something like that. Shows you how old houses, with a few dollars spent on them, can be fixed up very nice. Terminal Tower, the landmark of Cleveland. This is a subway station underneath the terminal tower. Keep in mind, back in the 50s, the trains used to go through this area. And I can remember when I'm going to the Great Lakes Naval Station, going through this area and changing trains from Pittsburgh to Cleveland and Cleveland to Chicago. Randall Mall. Another drawbridge in the flats. This one just goes straight up on both those pillars. It doesn't pivot like one you saw. Tennis courts in Solon, Ohio, next and right down from the high school and the library. The original school in Solon is now the administration and the Board of Education building in Solon. Solon Football Stadium. Looking down the street from our house in Carriage Park. Downtown Solon in 1978. Note the fire hydrant. They used to paint the fire hydrants all different colors, and they were kind of nifty. And this is the very last slide. May 1978.